to the early examples.
Late.
And then getting... Welcome back with a new video brought to you by the Spadone project. Here is Nick and Julian. Today we have a guest and we are in Switzerland in the SKKG Foundation. Adam, if you want to present yourself before we delve into the weapon.
Hello, I'm Adam Bodoric, CEO of Landsknechte Emporium.
Okay. So expert in terms of weapon making and historical reproduction.
Mainly messers, but we try.
Yeah, you try your best and we see. Okay, so we have here some different examples coming from different period of the 16th century, let's say Katzbalger, different regions and different styles. So we can start discussing from the oldest one and then getting to the latest examples. So the first one, we can start.
The first one is a type that we find quite often in the southern German regions. In the Swiss National Museums, there are like 4 or 5 of these with the same features. We have an S-guard. There are like spacers made of brass towards the pommel and towards the crossguard that even have the same look and shape in one line. So if here would be the wood, for example, it probably had a groove as well, fitting the whole design. This you would date maybe even end of 15th century. Mm-hmm. The blade, it's a very light sword, I have to say. It has some corrosion, but overall there's still some left. I think it's 645 grams missing the grip. It has a double fuller going to like...
Can I interject real quick?
Yes, sure.
It has my favorite fuller layout.
Okay.
Starting off with 3, then morphing into 2. You can
Yes.
see the ridges there.
And here the ridge is nearly gone.
Yeah.
And this looks hexagonal.
Yeah, that's hexagonal.
Yes.
But the base has that
Exactly.
triple fuller arrangement.
Then maybe you can see it has a very nice pin block here in shape of a flower maybe. Very nice detail, I would say. And yeah, I fell a bit in love with it, I have to say. And I really would like a replica.
Point taken.
Who wouldn't?
Yes. It, as I said, 645 grams, very light, very nimble. I really like it. And yeah, I think that's what we can say about this in this short time.
No marks, nothing special on the blade is really corroded. It's pretty thin.
There is a mark. Sorry to interject, you haven't seen it because it was turned. There is a brass inlaid mark. Hard to say what it is. Half round with some edges. We can take a close-up and show you. Yeah, but I think
Okay.
that's it for that one. So we come to the next one that maybe Adam wants to say a bit something.
Yeah, it's roughly from the same period, but it's an Italian one. This trilobate pommel is very typical of Italian pieces, though there is another variant. The cross shape is basically the same as on the previous one, but the quillon block is much more decorated. These filed decorations are very common on both higher-end Messers, Katzbalgers, even later Schlagschwerte. We are a bit confused on the grip because we are not sure how it looked originally. It has exposed wood, which is already a bit rare, decorated with brass wire, copper alloy wire. We do see some similar stuff again from Italy. The blade is a bit interesting. The cross section is rather obtuse. This wouldn't cut terribly well even if it was freshly sharpened. However, for the handling, This is my personal preference. It's not as super comfortable as the previous one. It's about 200 grams heavier, so not by a lot. It's still just 851 grams, but the balance is extremely forward. I saw a lot of this kind of balance, something from very different places that do the same. The blade is very simple with a single fuller in the middle, reaching all the way up to the tip, which is a bit strange for this kind of hilt, but Julian spotted also Italian one with also a single fuller in the middle.
Which was narrow though.
Yeah.
We have to say we discussed this and we have some issues with the whole thing while it depicts what we just described. I had the feeling, and you kind of said yes, if you look how the blade conjuncts with the hilt, it looks like it might have had a single-edged blade at some point, which
Yes,
we know from originals that are still intact existed.
It's very possible.
And there is a very famous photo of another one in a Italian blade book.
Armi bianche italiane by Boccia.
And there is one that has a very similar decoration, which is technically not a good sign if it's that close.
Yeah, the rest is different. I mean, the blade is one-edged, but yeah.
And it's not exactly the same, but it's very close. So we have some doubts about this, some things that could be real. It's hard to say. I want it to be real.
I also want it to be real.
And it's still very nice. So, and it shows very well the type of Katzbalger from the more Italian side.
Okay, I think it's pretty much it. So next one.
I leave that to you
Okay.
because you measured it.
Okay, I'm still not completely done measuring it. It's a extremely light Katzbalger dagger, if we can call it that. The blade is very thin, and in its current state, I would say it's lenticular, though it's corroded, so there might have been some finer bevels that are just washed out by corrosion. The pommel is hollow, so that keeps the overall weight very low.
So what exactly you mean with hollow? Just to explain better what I guess, like a cap.
I mean, it's a cap where this wall thickness is about 2 millimeters here at the edges. It thickens as it goes down, but it's still way lighter than a solid block of iron would be. And you can see that the top plate is put on separately. Yes. There is a seam going all the way through, and there are some remains of probably filed decoration going around there.
Yeah.
Yes.
The cross looks nice from a distance. Upon closer inspection, it's a bit rushed.
Yeah.
In a very historical way, still it's very rushed. I really like it. Again, it's super light. You could put it on your belt and just forget about it. But it would be a quite functional weapon.
Period-wise, we already
I would have said early 16th century, probably end of 15th, early 16th century.
There's a bit of Bollock's dagger vibe in the shape of the handle, just for this, enlarging, flaring ends.
Yeah.
I mean, just a vibe. Of course, it's a different kind of dagger, but it reminded me of that kind of design.
Yeah, I agree. Kind of makes sense. And
would fit with the dating.
Yes.
Yeah. I agree.
Now this Katzbalger we have already presented in a video. We put the link down so you could check it out. It's from a later period, so we thought we bring them in a line, probably 1560s. I mean, we have talked about it. Maybe you shortly want to give your impression.
Yeah.
It's maybe more interesting than us. You didn't really look at it, I think, but
No, today I just handled it a little bit to see how it feels. It's the heaviest of the three, but it's balanced the closest of the three. It's a design that makes sense, a very flat, very wide blade. It would cut pretty well, unlike the middle one. I personally don't like balances being this close, but this one feels rather comfortable. Also, while it's an often criticized part on repros, because we don't see much of it on originals, but this twisted square cross-section is nice to see on an original. Also, lovely inlay work with the copper.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and the finials are extra nice, kind of emulating the decoration on the pommel. Yeah. Honestly, this piece makes more sense than, for example, the Kelvin Grove original, because that just doesn't make sense. This one does.
Yeah.
It's really interesting to see even the difference in length. Like, I have the impression we have something more practical. I wouldn't say battle ready, but something for a soldier here. Here there's a bit more of design meant to be decorative, even if practical. And is interesting this detail. Here we have a longer blade, while here we have a short one with a rounded tip. Of course, we do not know if the tip was damaged or.
But it fits what we see with the classic Katzbalger.
Yeah, exactly. And we also have at least one Italian sources from the period that specifically talk about rounded tip for German mercenaries in order not to stab the other soldiers on the back ranks when they are in formation. Maybe it's not the case, it's an exaggeration, but of course here we see a wide difference.
Especially because this is still quite sharp.
Yeah, but it's not as stubby as
That's correct.
This one.
Yeah. No, I think
That's pretty much it.
that was pretty much it.
So thank you, Adam, for joining us.
Thank you for the opportunity.
And you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can support us on our Patreon page, link in description. And thank you for watching. See you soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.